Jarrell. This is Meredith over at Grunge Muffin. So on the Baby Blessed Beginnings website, um, when you want to make an edit, you can, from the main dashboard, either jump right into the section where you want to make the edit. For example, if you want to go and make a change on a page, you can go to pages and there will be a list of pages that you can um, click through, and you can hover over them, and you'll see the option to edit, and you can go right into that page. On this main page, though, I just wanted to explain that anything that has draft next to it means that it's not an active page on the front view of your website, meaning nobody in the public can come to your website and access that page. We can see it because we have the editing capability, but these are just drafts because they're dummy pages that I set up for you, that you might need at some point down the line, and I just wanted to have them good to go. So they already have like a layout, and they have dummy text and dummy images if we need them, but you can totally disregard them as well. The active pages on your website that people can access are the ones that don't have the word draft next to them. So the about page, insurance and payments, the breastfeeding chart, the classes and the services, these are all active. You can see that it says published. So it is active on the front end of the website, and you can go right into them. So you could click edit, and when you do, this is the back end of that page. So this is the page builder, and this is how the page is laid out. What I like to do, even though I've been doing this a long time and this all makes sense to me, is I'll go and I'll have a second tab open, which is the front end of the website. So literally this is just my tab in the back end, and then this is just another tab where I've gone to just the regular website and I can view that same page. So this is what the private breastfeeding classes looks like on the front end of the website to the public. So we have a header, we have a button, we have a fancy list, then we have a sidebar with a button that links over to Calendly. And on the back side where the page builder is, again, we have those same exact items. So we have the heading, we have the button, the fancy list, the sidebar with that button that goes to Calendly. So if there's something that you're coming on here and you want to change the wording, or if you want to change, how long the meeting is that people are requesting, whatever the case may be, you can come back here and you can find that text block, or you can find that image or that heading. And you see how when I hover over them, there's this green block that appears? Well, you can click the pencil icon, which means edit, and it'll open up the settings dialog box for that particular item. So you can move this block around if you need to see what's behind it or whatever. But you can actually come in here and change out the text. And once it's how you want it to be, you hit save changes. And then you come to the next item. Like let's say you want to change the wording on the button. Or let's say you want to change where it goes to. Like if you don't want it to go to Calendly anymore for some reason, you'd be able to come in, change that, and then after you've you've saved your changes and you're happy with it, then you'll hit update, and it'll actually then save the overall page, and it'll be live to the public. So those changes would then be visible on the front end side of the website. So like let's say for example, you want to take out something, you can just simply delete it because it's a text block. Or let's say you want to add some more text in here. You just come in and you type whatever it is. And then you would hit save changes. And again, you would update the overall page. Let's say you accidentally delete something, like, you delete the entire fancy list. Well, don't do anything. Don't hit update. Don't do anything other than just reload the page, hit the refresh icon on your browser, and see it'll bring everything back how you had it. It's once you update that it'll take real effect on the page. And it'll be hard. We can bring things back, so don't panic completely. We can go back and we can reinstate it. In fact, every page has something called revisions. So we can go back to a previous revision or a previous view of that page and bring it back. but it just helps if you reload it, if you do something accidental. But you can change out images. Like, let's say you want to change out this breastfeeding picture for something else. Well, you just hit the red X on that picture, and then you hit the plus sign to open up the media library, and you can upload a new picture from your computer, and you can add it in there, and then hit save changes and go from there. So editing a page is pretty easy, pretty straightforward, especially if you're happy with the layout of the page and how everything is like structured. Then you don't have to mess around with like the layout, which can get a little bit more complex and a little bit more involved. And you can totally learn how to do all of that. It just is a different video that would be more in depth about that particular thing. Whereas in this video, I'm trying to just give you an overview of how you can get in and make edits. If you, let's say, so in our phone call, you mentioned possibly wanting to add new classes or add new services. Well, let's say it's very similar in layout to how the breastfeeding classes page is. What you could do is you could duplicate this page completely. And what it'll do is it'll give you a draft of this page. So see how now you have two of them, but this one is a draft. So this is one that you could edit, and then you could like completely remove information out of here. Like you could, I don't know what you would call it, but like something healthy class. So with your something healthy class, you work your way through the blocks here. So on the heading blocks, you would do the same thing. You would say something healthy class. Classes include, free of typos. And then in your fancy list, you open this up, you change out whatever the wording is. It includes this thing and this thing or whatever. I'm just being really fast right now, obviously, just for the sake of this tutorial. And then you just change out whatever the wording is, blah, 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 blah. And then you would hit save changes, and then your list would be updated, your heading would be updated. Let's say that you don't want to have this button here anymore. You just hit the X icon and it gets rid of it. For the image over here, you can open that up, you can change that out. You can change any of this wording around just by simply hitting the pencil tool. And when it opens up, there's where the title would be, so you can change that wording. Oops, I accidentally just hit it. So yeah, you can really like adapt any of this. If you don't want an image here, for example, you just X out the image. And whenever you're done, what you would do is you could hit preview, and this will open up the front end view of the website, so you can simply see what it looks like without that image there, with the title change, and it gives you a look before it's officially published. Once you publish it, it's viewable to somebody on the front end of your website. So it actually is accessible to the public at that point. So a preview can be a nice option to make sure that something looks right before you officially put it out there. Now, I'm going to navigate away from this and show you that once it's out there, it doesn't mean that it's accessible from the menu. So this section up here is called the main navigation of your website. It's also called a menu, and menus have drop-down items that people can select. So in this case, your menu has a drop-down underneath of classes, it has a drop-down under services, it has a drop-down under about, and to actually add something to the menu, you would need to, from the dashboard, go to Appearance, Menus, and once that page is published, then you can grab it from under either the most recent section, or you can grab it from the View All section, and you can select whatever page it is that you need to add to the menu. It'll just spit it out at the bottom, and then you can drag it up to where it needs to be. Now, you'll notice that the menu back here follows in line with the menu up here on the front end view of your site. So again, there's Home, and then there's Classes with some drop-down options and services. So if you move it to this tier, then it's going to be on this main tier. But if you move it down underneath of something, it'll become a drop-down item menu. And then if you drop it down again, another layer, it'll be a drop down under that drop down. So it'll keep dropping down several tiers. Let's say you accidentally added something like, uh-oh, I have 2 breastfeeding, links. I didn't mean to do that. You just hit this little arrow and then you can remove it. And once this is how you want it to be, you can hit Save Menu and then go to the front view of your website and just refresh. And then you'll see those new options underneath of your drop downs. And again, you always want to like do that just to confirm, make sure that it actually does look the way that you want it to look. It has the information you want it to have, so that you're not putting something silly out there and not realizing it until way later. You want to check it right away, make sure it's good to go, and go from there. Now, you'll notice that when you are in the website, from the front end view, there's something called the mini dashboard up here, which has several options. So you can go right into editing whatever page you are on. And it's the same as the main dashboard over here to the left-hand side. It's just that the main dashboard has a lot more options to it. The mini dashboard tends to be very specific to like what page it's on, basically. So you can get to some things from both. It's just, a roundabout way sometimes. So depending on what you need, the main menu is going to have everything. The mini dashboard may or may not. I think the main things that you're going to need just right now is that menu that I just showed you, the pages that I just showed you. I will say that you can add new users onto your website simply by going there and giving them a username and other credentials. And then you might also, I don't necessarily know if you'll have an easy time with the contact form, but I want to show it to you anyway, in case it's something that you need to update. So on the front view of your website, this is what the public sees. They have a little book your appointment form that they can fill out. And you're not asking for a ton of information here. You're just asking for their name, email, phone number, what service they need, and how they're going to pay for it. And then basically there's a reCAPTCHA here that just verifies that they're a human being and they can answer this simple question, that they're not a bot. Now, how this actually looks on the back end is you would come to contact, and this is the book your visit form, and you would hit edit. And this is why I don't necessarily recommend that you play with it. You can, and I should say, I would be remiss if I didn't say that you can absolutely edit the direct form, or you can duplicate it and play around with the duplicated one, which might be the way to go. But once you do edit it, there's the form side. These are all the input fields that people need to answer. And then there's the mail side, which is where the answers to those input fields are going so that they arrive to you in a legible, readable way. So, for example, there is the your name field. There's a label. It doesn't really matter if the label tag is up here or down here. So maybe just for the sake of making it consistent for you, I'll just move them real quick. But there's basically the label for that field, and then there's the input section. So in this case, obviously, the label is your name, and then there's the input field. Again, the label is your email, the input field, phone, and the input field. So it matches back here, your name, your email, your phone, and then what we're asking for. And then people, so like the your name, your email, your phone, your name, your email. I know I'm saying them all out of order, but they just go right here. So I can make this anything. I can say, yo, what's up, Jarrell? This is a cool person. Because this is an email that goes to you. So you're the only person that is seeing this email. So it could be really informal to yourself if you want it to be, or if you want to have different notes in here. But the way I have made it look nice and professional for you is I have it simply say, someone would like to book an appointment with Baby Blessed Beginnings. Please use the information to contact them. And then this is their name, your name, email, your email, phone, your phone. And all of the input items here, so service needed, or in this case, payment option. They just need to match what you have here. And you see, it gives you them up here as well. So you can make sure that they're all in here. Let me show you an example. On the mail side, if I take payment options out real quick and I save it, you see these are all gray, meaning they're all used. But look, that one's gone, so it's black. So it's telling you like, hey, you have all of these ones down here, but you don't have this one yet. So now you can highlight it, copy it, paste it down here, hit save, and you'll notice it's grayed out again. So this is also a way for you to confirm that you've actually have all the fields from your form in your actual mail section. So the reason I'm showing you the form is because you had mentioned possibly wanting to do a history form with people where maybe you gather more about their history. I think that's a great idea. I don't know if it's going to be a separate form or if you just want to add more fields to this book your visit form. But either way, I just thought it was maybe important for you to see this and how it functions. So if you wanted to add a new piece of information, what you could do is just copy one of these. Like just copy this, paste it down here, and you could have the label say whatever you want it to say. So in this case, you'd be like, birth history, or previous birthing history. And you could say the star is just telling people it's a required field. And then if you have a star down here in the actual input field, it literally does make it required. And so it won't submit the form without that star. If you remove the star, then it's no longer a required field. And you could even remove the star from the label so that people know that it's not required. And you could even write the word optional if you wanted. But then for the text, that just means that this is going to appear as a text block. And a text block is different from a text area. A text area gives you a larger text, just gives you this long skinny option, whereas a text area would make this higher, larger, wider, bigger. But you would say text block, and then you just want it to match up with what you're actually asking people. So you would say birth history or birthing history. And then you would hit save, and I'll show you because I'll remove this in just a second. And then the mail, now you have that birthing history item that you would just add down here. You'd be like, and then you could just write that here, birthing history. And then you put the field there. And so what that's going to do is it creates an input field on the form, and then you are telling the mail side of things that you want that inputted information that's called birthing history in the email. And then when you hit save, this will be grayed out, denoting that you've actually added it. So anyway, that's how you would just add something to the form. And so removing something from the form is even easier. You just come to the thing you want to remove, you just delete it, you just kind of clean it up a bit. Like, I don't want to have a million spaces in here. And then again, you just hit save and then it'll be gone. What I'm doing here again is these label tags can go either before or after these fields. And maybe for you, it's going to look a little bit cleaner if they're all before the fields. Okay. So I'm just going to hit save. And then, your form is back to normal. So things like this that have little code snippets in it, and that's what this is. These are little code snippets. Maybe that looks a little difficult. If you don't feel comfortable, I can hop in and do this. Anybody with some basic web design or web development knowledge would know how to do this. So potentially that's a hiring question on your end if you're taking on more consultants. If you feel it's important for them to maybe know how to update things on the website like this, that could be a cool thing to kind of look out for, but totally not necessarily, obviously, for a lot of the things that you guys are doing professionally. But just, I don't want you to feel trapped with my studio. But yeah, so you're good to go. I think those are all the things you're gonna need for now. There's a lot of nitty gritty things that can be delved into. I could make whole hour-long tutorials on like any one of these things, or even a half-hour tutorial. But I'm trying to give you just an overview of the things that I think you're gonna need right away. So, all right, Jarrell. Good luck. I'm here if you need me. Bye.